Is the Toronto market gonna see a crash? Is there gonna see a correction? That's a great question. By the end of this video, I want you to know exactly what's happening in the real estate market now and what you should do about it. Hey friends, I'm Paul Haley, Toronto realtor, investor, educator, and speaker, and I want to help you buy and invest in real estate. In the last 6 weeks, there's been some dire predictions by the CMHC. They said that the Toronto market was going to be hard hit between 9 and 18% reduction. And believe me, I got a lot of questions about this from clients and friends. What the heck is happening in the Toronto real estate market? So first thing you need to know, who the heck is the CMHC? The CMHC are the people that insure mortgages when they're below 20% of the value of the home. So often it's, people buying condos and first-time buyers. And recently, as of July 1st, they've changed the rules. So now the ratios are a bit tighter. It's harder to get the mortgage. They've increased the credit score requirements from 600 to 680. And basically they made it harder to borrow money to buy. They don't want to see you pulling money from a line of credit as your down payment. Okay, so now the CMHC is saying, well, in Canada, maybe prices could come down 12% in the next 18 months. And in Toronto specifically, prices could come down between 3 and 10% by the end of the year. And this will disproportionately affect condos versus houses as the supply problem is, there is a extra supply as new condos come online. And they're saying, you have to be careful listening to this because we're not sure what's going to happen. Yeah, yeah, no kidding. And like I just mentioned, they just changed the rules. And in Toronto, who do you think those rules primarily affect? Home buyers or condo buyers? Condo buyers, right? Because condos are the things that are probably mostly priced below $1 million. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, CMHC, when you change the rules and then say, oh, well, prices could come down a little bit. Yeah, no kidding. And it's also interesting to note that Genworth and Canada Guarantee, the other insurers, haven't changed the rules as of yet. And so, the CMHC is basing this on actual data. So there are 750,000, maybe a bit more now, mortgage deferrals. And what they're assuming is that 20% of those are going to default. And those disproportionately affect, Toronto and Vancouver, as, the mortgages in those places tend to be higher. And, potentially those people have lost their jobs or whatever. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in the market right now. And let me tell you a little story, actually, why this is important. So you may not know this, but I used to manage commodity risk for a large Canadian corporation. We would buy hundreds of millions of dollars of flour, sugar, commodities, basically, right? So, and I actually spent some time on some of the world's biggest exchange floors back when they actually had people on exchange floors. It wasn't just all computers. And what was really interesting about that experience is, I would go and talk to, like, say, the head trader, for, let's say, wheat, and they would know what is happening in the market right now to such a level of detail. It just kind of blows your mind. Like hedging risk, we were always looking at, what are all basically the economic fundamentals of hedging risk in that commodity. So hopefully this is interesting. How many plantings there were, what the crop yields are going to be, what's the carryover, like how much supply is in the market, where do we think demand is going to be. And the traders on the floor knew this stuff inside and out, and they knew what was happening on that very last trade, why that price was there, what was happening in China, what was happening in America, what was happening in Russia. Like, it was just unbelievable. But, because what I really wanted to know was what was going to happen in 6 months, what was going to happen in a year. And honestly, they didn't know. And now I realize why. I did at the time too. Listen, I can tell you what's happening right now, Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody's going to be able to tell you what's going to happen in 6 months to a year. I'm giving you all this information as they were giving me that information so I can make an informed decision, and that's what I'm trying to help you with. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about what is happening right now. So sales are back, baby. So sales are back, basically 1.4% lower than they were July of 2019, which was a good market, but 89% above May. So, we're basically back to our former volumes. New listings are up 2.1%, but active listings are down almost 29%. So what that means is there's tighter supply in the market. And prices are up almost 12%, but the home price index, which measures like to like, is up just a little over 8%. And what that means is now that those higher priced properties are coming back into the market. So what we were seeing before is a switch where average sales price was lower than the home price index, which meant that the market for those were challenged. But what we're seeing now is that the market for higher price, like $2 million plus homes, is coming back. And what we've seen in the city of Toronto in the month of June is detached homes are actually up 14%, attached homes are up 22%, and condos are only up 5.6%. So like I said, we're going to see this disparity in freehold versus condos. So rents, we've only seen rents come down 0.3% month over month. So there is, a supply glut of rentals, if you will, and you've seen the prices come down, but not that much yet. And the prediction is that they're really not going to come down much further because as the economy reopens, as immigration comes back, we're going to start to see people come into the market, and particularly they're saying at the lower end, as people move out of their house or students come, we're going to see lots of demand created in the lower end of the rental market. So what's actually happening on the ground, like that trader I mentioned, that's, very in tune with what's happening in the marketplace. I have an unfair advantage because I'm in the market every day. And we just sold some condos. We just sold 3 condos. And, honestly, we did get record prices for the building, but the market, you can feel it. It's softening. We're not getting the same level of demand and showings that we were before. Like we listed a place in January and I had 100 showings in 2 days. We sold in 2 days and we closed 7 days later. Like the market was insane back then. And yes, we're still getting showings, but not nearly to that level. And actually that's physically impossible right now to have 100 showings in 2 days, because you can only have 2 people in elevators in some buildings and you can't overlap showings. They all have to be separate showings. And so what's happening in the economy? Like we mentioned before, immigration is still low for 2020, but it's definitely coming back. And, we think in September we'll see lots of students come back. So immigration is going to start to increase again. Unemployment was at 13.7% for May. Inflation was down 0.4%. So that's actually deflation in May of 2020. So that's, the velocity of money have slowed and people just aren't spending like they used to. They're predicting that will come back as the economy reopens. Like I mentioned, there are 750,000 plus mortgage deferrals now. So there is some risk of default of that in the fall and next year. And interestingly, cottage sales are up like 25%. You're probably not surprised, as people want to move out of the city potentially now. And was talking to a good friend, a Hamilton realtor, and the Hamilton market is actually going crazy right now. And our hypothesis is lots of condo dwellers in Toronto that now don't have to be so close to work are selling their properties and moving, outside of the city, let's say an hour or 2 hours. Still we can get into the city for meetings, but, maybe you can afford a bigger space. And listen, if you're stuck working at home, you probably don't want to live in a condo right now. I can't blame you. So like I said in last month, I think we will see this, exodus from the city. I don't think it's going to be, big enough to crash the market. Some people would like, but I do think it will impact the surrounding areas of Toronto, Cottage Country, Prince Edward County, Hamilton, more so than it'll impact Toronto real estate. So really, the fundamentals of the housing market in Toronto haven't changed. You know, we're still going to have a supply problem, so we're probably not going to see this massive crash that, you know, some people are predicting. Will we see some movement in condo prices? Probably. I'm not guaranteeing that. We are seeing a little bit of softness now, and we have seen in the data, you know, that shift from condos to freeholds. You know, so we should see some softness there, but you know, long run, we're still going to have a supply problem. We're still going to be 15,000 units a year short, housing units in the city of Toronto for the next 10 years, after, you know, the next 12 to 18 months. Before I talk about, you know, what we should do about it, you know, I feel like these predictions are, you know, giving people false hope. And you know, based on my conversations and the comments I get, you know, for these videos, is I feel like people feel like this is going to be a great leveler. It's going to be, you know, it's going to bring housing prices down. It's going to make everything affordable for people. You know, so people are getting false hope that this is going to help them. And the truth, the sad truth is, this is just going to increase that wealth gap, right? You don't have to look any further than 2008. What happened, you know, primarily in the U.S. As you know, there was a housing crisis there. But what happened? Did the banks that caused this, did they get in trouble? No, they got bailed out. They paid their bonuses. Did the landlords get in trouble? No, they basically saw rents increase. And then there was this massive buying opportunity. There were busloads of people driving around these cities buying stuff like off a bus, right? Who took the brunt? The people that took the brunt are the people that can least afford it. It was the people who got sold these bad loans, you know, the you know, lower income folks. And you know, what I'm trying to say is this crisis isn't going to drive a level playing field. It's going to drive the rich to get richer. And you know, as we've seen, I saw a stat in the States that the US billionaires have made billions and billions of more dollars this last little while because of this crisis. And that really isn't fair. And you know, the reason I'm saying this is I want you to do something. I want you to be one of those people that are gonna at least get maybe helped out a little bit by this, or aren't gonna be taken advantage of. That's why I'm explaining that. Okay, so what should I do about it, Paul Haley? Great question. So listen, if you think you're gonna have to default on your mortgage, don't wait. You know, especially if you're a condo owner, I would say sell now. You know, we think supply is gonna come along in the fall, and that's going to, you know, potentially soften the condo market. So if you're going to sell, now is probably the best time to sell. If you're looking to buy, someone asked me this the other day, the best time to buy is now. The best time to look is now. Just start looking. When the property comes along that you can afford and you love it, just buy it. And you know, interest rates are lower, so you can lock in at a mortgage for a long period of time. So you know, if the market does dip a little bit, let's say in condos, it's not going to affect you over a 5-year time horizon. And if you're looking for investments, there's still, you know, great opportunities. I'm still helping a ton of investors find properties now, and you know, interest rates are lower. You know, I'm also telling investors, you know, because there's some of you that weren't there in 2008, but 2008, 2009, 2010, the banks were giving money away, and I think that's probably going to come back. You go to a bank and they would say, hey, you want to borrow more money? You should buy investment property. You're like, okay, let's do that. That's going to come back. And to sum it up, this week I actually had a great conversation with a friend. You know, interestingly, there's something called loss aversion, and that's where, you know, humans, we're actually more afraid of losing money than gaining money. Even if, like, you know, you lose $5 versus gain $20, we're more afraid of losing money. So what he said was, hey, Paul, you know, what happens if I buy a condo, I buy it for $700,000, and in 6 months it's worth $650,000? What do I do? Now, what you should know is this person's been looking since 2018, and when they buy a place, they don't intend on selling for 5 years. So as you can guess, what I said was, listen, in 5 years, if in the short term the condo price goes down, you're not gonna at all be impacted, as long as you can afford the payments, you know, and interest rates are low. And if you had bought in 2018, when you started looking, you would have saved $200,000. So you've already lost $200,000. And what I'm afraid of, especially for people who are delaying purchases on freeholds, is you're going to lose more, right? You're going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars if you wait. If the market goes up again next year, another 10, 12%, 22% in the case of detached or attached homes, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you've missed out on. And I don't want that to happen for you. So I hope you found that hugely helpful. Please, leave me a comment. Please like this video if you want to see more of this kind of content. Please smash that subscribe button if you want to see, when I post new content on my YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, please shoot me an email, paul@paulhaley.ca. Talk soon. Come on, garbage truck. There's gonna be a train coming along soon. I gotta make some videos. Spiders, cobwebs. Oh, garbage trucks are slow. Anytime now. The truth is that things, not opportunity, crisis. Let me start again.